The chains felt cold against Hana Kim's wrists. She stood in the center of a massive chamber, surrounded by screens that showed her face to 14 trillion beings across the galaxy. The Valkyrie Empire wanted everyone to watch. They wanted everyone to see what happened when someone dared to fight back. Hana was 38 years old. She had black hair that fell to her shoulders, now dirty and tangled from weeks in a cell. Her uniform was torn. Blood stained the fabric in several places. But her eyes were clear and steady as she looked at the creatures who claimed to rule the galaxy. The Valkyrie were tall, much taller than humans. Their skin was pale blue and their eyes had no pupils, just solid black orbs that seemed to absorb light. Emperor Thorinvel sat on a throne made of some dark metal. He wore robes that glittered with technology humans didn't fully understand. Around him stood the Grand Council, 12 of the most powerful beings in the known universe. General Hana Kim of Earth. The Emperor's voice boomed through the chamber. Translation devices made sure every species in the galaxy could understand his words. You stand accused of crimes against galactic order. You destroyed our ship, the Imperial Wrath. You killed 40,000 of our soldiers. What do you say? Hana didn't look away. I say your soldiers came to my home. They burned our cities. They killed my family. I fought back. That's not a crime. That's survival, the Emperor laughed. It was a cold sound that echoed off the walls. Survival? Your species has no right to survive. You are primitive, young, weak. We have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. We have never lost a war. There's a first time for everything, Hana said quietly. The council members stirred. One of them, a female Valkyrie with scars on her face, leaned forward. Your planet has 48 hours to surrender. Every human ship, every weapon, every colony. If you refuse, we will destroy Earth. We will hunt every human in the galaxy. Your species will become a memory. On Earth, billions of people watched the broadcast. In a bunker deep underground, Mina Choi sat at her communications station. She was 26 years old with short hair and tired eyes. She'd been working for 30 hours straight, but she couldn't look away from the screen. They're really going to kill her, whispered the soldier next to her. Mina's hands moved across her controls. Just watch, she said. Just wait. Far away, hidden in the darkness between stars, Commander Doyen Park stood on the bridge of a warship called the Indomitable. He was 42 with gray starting to show in his hair. He'd served with Hana for 15 years. He'd watched her rise through the ranks. He'd seen her lose everything when the Valkyrie came. All ships report ready, said his tactical officer. Doyen nodded. His eyes never left the screen showing Hana in chains. Hold position. Wait for the signal. Around the Indomitable, 499 other human ships waited in silence. They were hidden using technology that humanity had stolen and modified. The Valkyrie thought humans were too stupid to understand advanced stealth systems. They were wrong. In an evacuation shelter on Earth, a 16-year-old girl named Jiwon Lee watched her mother stand in chains. Jiwon had her mother's eyes, the same determination in her face. She sat with 100 other refugees, all of them staring at the screen in horror. Why doesn't she beg? Asked a younger child. Why doesn't she say sorry? Because she's not sorry, Jiwon said. Her voice was steady, but tears ran down her face. And because she knows what she's doing. Back in the chamber, the Emperor stood. Humanity had a chance to join the galactic community peacefully. You could have served us. Instead, you chose war. Now you will learn what happens to those who defy the Empire. He gestured, and a device lowered from the ceiling. It was a ring of dark metal, covered in symbols that glowed with blue light. The ring positioned itself around Hana, floating in the air. This is a molecular disintegration field, the Emperor explained. He seemed to enjoy describing it. In 7 minutes, it will activate. The energy will tear apart every atom in your body. You will cease to exist. There will be nothing left, not even dust. Hana looked at the device. Then she looked back at the Emperor. 7 minutes? That's generous. We want you to feel fear, said the scarred council member. We want you to beg. You'll be disappointed, Hana said. The timer appeared on every screen across the galaxy. 7 minutes. The numbers began to count down. 6 minutes and 58 seconds. 6 minutes and 55 seconds. Hana closed her eyes. She thought about her husband, killed in the first Valkyrie attack on Mars colony. She thought about her parents lost when the enemy bombed Busan Station. She thought about every friend, every soldier, every civilian who had died in this war. 6 minutes and 30 seconds. The Valkyrie guards stood around the chamber, watching. They wore armor that could stop bullets. They carried weapons that could cut through steel. They thought one human woman in chains was no threat at all. 6 minutes. Deep inside Hana's body, hidden beneath her ribs, was a device the Valkyrie hadn't found. It looked like a medical implant, something to help a damaged heart. Their scanners had seen it and dismissed it as unimportant. They didn't know it was a quantum transmitter, built by the best scientists humanity had left. For the past hour, that device had been broadcasting. Every second of this ceremony, every moment of Hana standing in the chamber, it sent out information. The exact coordinates of every major Valkyrie military base in this star system, the locations of their defense platforms, the positions of their ships, their shield frequencies, their communication codes. All of that data flowed out through quantum entanglement, impossible to detect or block. It reached the hidden human fleet. It reached Earth. It reached every human ship scattered across the stars. 5 minutes, Mina. Joy watched her screens fill with data, coordinates, numbers, tactical information that would have taken years to gather, all of it pouring in because Hana Kim had volunteered to walk into a trap. "We have everything," Mina said into her communicator. "I repeat, we have target lock on all primary objectives. 4 minutes. On the Indomitable, Doyen Park looked at the tactical display. Every Valkyrie ship in the system appeared on his screen. Every defense platform, every weakness. "She did it," he said quietly. Then louder, "All ships prepare for jump. Stand by on my mark." Around him, 500 warships powered up their engines. They were old ships, most of them, patched together with stolen technology and human desperation. But they were ready. 3 minutes and 30 seconds. The Emperor watched the timer with satisfaction. "Do you have any last words, human?" Hana opened her eyes. She looked directly at the camera, at the 14 trillion beings watching across the galaxy. When she spoke, her voice was clear and strong. "The thing about humans," she said, "is that we learn. We watch, we adapt. You thought we were primitive. You thought we'd be easy to break. You were wrong. 3 minutes. Empty words," the Emperor said. "From a dead species," Hana smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret, who'd already won a game everyone else thought was still being played. "You should have killed me immediately," she said. 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Across the galaxy, in 500 human ships, in bunkers on Earth, in shelters on Mars and Titan and Europa, people held their breath. The timer counted down. The Valkyrie watched and waited for the execution. Humanity watched and waited for war. The numbers kept falling. And Hana Kim stood in chains, still smiling, while the device around her hummed with building energy. 2 minutes and 30 seconds remained on the timer. The blue glow around the execution device grew brighter. Hana Kim felt the air getting warmer. The molecular disintegration field was powering up, preparing to tear her apart atom by atom. She thought back to 3 weeks ago. The meeting had been secret, held in a bunker so deep underground that no sensors could detect it. Doyen Park had been there. So had Admiral Yuna Kang, the highest-ranking officer in what remained of Earth's military. "It's suicide," Doyun had said, his voice tight with anger. "You're asking to die." Hana had looked at him calmly. "I'm asking to be useful. We need intelligence. We need to know where their bases are, where their ships will be. The only way to get that information is to get inside their most secure location." "And how do you plan to transmit it?" Admiral Kang had asked. "Dr. Byung has developed a quantum transmitter. It's small enough to hide inside my body. The Valkyrie scanners will see it as a medical implant." Doyen had slammed his fist on the table. "And then you die. For what? A few coordinates?" "For a chance," Hana had said quietly. "For one real shot at making them bleed. Isn't that worth one life?" 2 minutes. In the Valkyrie chamber, Emperor Thorin watched the screens showing reactions from across the galaxy. Some species looked horrified. Others looked satisfied. The Valkyrie had destroyed many civilizations over the centuries. Not everyone mourned humanity's coming end. "Look at them," the Emperor said to his council. "The humans are already fleeing. Our ships report that their colony transports are scattering into deep space. Cowards. 1 minute and 45 seconds. On Earth, Mina Choi's fingers flew across her keyboard. The data stream from Hana's transmitter was slowing down. They had most of what they needed, but there were gaps. Ship movements, defense rotations. If Hana could stay alive another minute, they might get everything. Come on, Mina whispered. Just a little longer. 1 minute and 30 seconds. The Valkyrie technicians in the chamber began to notice something strange. One of them approached the Emperor's throne. My lord, we're detecting unusual energy readings. From where? The Emperor asked, not looking away from Hana. We're not certain. The readings are very faint, almost like background radiation. Then ignore them. Continue the execution. 1 minute and 15 seconds. In the evacuation shelter, Jiwan Li couldn't breathe. She watched the timer count down, watched her mother standing so still in those chains. Other people in the shelter were crying. Some were praying. Jiwan just watched, memorizing her mother's face. An older woman put her hand on Jiwan's shoulder. Your mother is very brave. She's more than brave, Jiwan said. She's smart. And she's angry. That's a dangerous combination. 1 minute. The energy field around Hana began to crackle. Blue lightning jumped between the ring and her body. She could feel it now, like needles pressing against her skin. It hurt, but not unbearably. Not yet. She thought about her daughter. Jiwan would be 16 now, nearly grown. Hana had missed. Her last birthday had missed so many moments because of this war. But if this worked, maybe Jiwan would have a future. Maybe she'd grow up in a galaxy where humans didn't have to hide and run. That was worth dying for. 45 seconds. The Valkyrie technician returned to the Emperor. My lord, the energy readings are increasing. They're forming a pattern. What kind of pattern? A transmission pattern, but we can't block it. We can't even trace it. The Emperor's black eyes narrowed. Find the source. Now. 30 seconds. Across the Valkyrie Empire, military commanders watched the execution broadcast. They saw it as a celebration, proof of their superiority. They didn't notice their own tactical displays updating in the background. They didn't see human intelligence networks copying their defense schedules, their patrol routes, their supply line coordinates. 20 seconds. On the Indomitable, Doyon Park watched 500 ships align themselves. Each one knew its target. Each crew had volunteered for this mission, knowing most of them wouldn't come home. The humans had stolen FTL technology from the Valkyrie and modified it. They'd learned things the Empire thought impossible. 15 seconds until transmission completes, reported the communications officer. Weapons ready? Doyon asked. All ships armed and ready, sir. Then we wait for the signal. 15 seconds. The execution chamber glowed bright blue. The energy field was reaching its peak. Hana's skin began to tingle, then burn. The molecular bonds in her body were starting to weaken. She could feel herself coming apart. The Emperor leaned forward, enjoying the spectacle. Do you regret your defiance now, human? Hana looked at him. Even in pain, even knowing she had seconds left, she met his eyes without fear. My only regret, she said, her voice clear despite the agony, is that I won't be alive to see what happens next. 10 seconds. The Valkyrie technician ran to the Emperor. My lord, the transmission is coming from inside the prisoner. She's broadcasting our military positions. The Emperor stood, his face twisted in rage. Stop the execution. Get her out of there. 5 seconds. But it was too late to stop the field. Once activated, the molecular disintegration device couldn't be turned off. It had to complete its cycle. The Emperor spun to his military commander. Lock down the system. Raise all shields. Scramble the defense fleet. 4 seconds. 3 seconds. On Earth, Mina Choi saw the data stream stop. They had it. Everything. Every target, every weakness. She switched channels and sent one word to the waiting fleet. Go. 2 seconds. Doyon Park heard the signal. He took a deep breath and gave the order he'd been waiting weeks to give. All ships jump, jump, jump. 1 second. Space around Throne Prime, the capital world of the Valkyrie Empire, had been empty. Clear. Safe. Then it tore open. 500 human warships dropped out of FTL at the same instant. The Valkyrie had said such a maneuver was impossible. The mathematics were too complex. The coordination required was beyond human capability. The energy expenditure would destroy the ships. They were wrong. The human fleet appeared in perfect formation, surrounding the planet. Every ship knew exactly where to be. Every weapon was already locked on target. 0 seconds. In the execution chamber, the device reached full power. Blue energy exploded outward. Then every light in the palace went dark. The planetary defense grid was redirecting all power to shields, trying to respond to the sudden appearance of an enemy fleet. That power had to come from somewhere. It came from the execution chamber. The molecular disintegration field collapsed. The chains holding Hana were electromagnetic. No power meant no restraints. She opened her eyes. The chamber was dark except for emergency lights. The Valkyrie guards were shouting in confusion. The Emperor was screaming orders. And Hana Kim was free. She moved fast. 15 years of military training took over. The nearest guard was 3 steps away. She covered the distance before he could raise his weapon. She grabbed his arm, twisted, heard the bone snap. She took his gun and shot him with it. The second guard managed to fire. The blast went wide as Hana rolled. She came up shooting. The guard went down. "Stop her!" the Emperor shouted. More guards poured into the chamber, but they were used to fighting at range, used to enemies who were afraid of them. Hana was close, fast, and had nothing to lose. She killed 2 more guards before they could coordinate. Outside the palace, the sky lit up with weapons fire. The human fleet wasn't trying to invade. They were trying to destroy. Graviton disruptors, weapons the Valkyrie thought were theoretical, tore through orbital defense platforms. Nuclear missiles launched toward military installations. Railguns fired solid metal slugs at relativistic speeds. The Valkyrie defense fleet scrambled to respond. They outnumbered the humans 10 to 1. They had better ships, better shields, better weapons. But the humans knew exactly where every Valkyrie ship would be. They knew the shield frequencies. They knew which ships had weak reactors and which commanders made mistakes under pressure. Hana's transmission had given them everything. In the first 90 seconds of battle, 300 Valkyrie ships died. The Emperor's flagship, the Eternal Glory, took concentrated fire from 30 human vessels. Its shields collapsed. The massive ship broke in half. 2 million Valkyrie died in an instant. On the Indomitable's bridge, Doyun watched the tactical display and felt sick. So much death, so much destruction. This wasn't war. This was slaughter. But he remembered Earth burning. He remembered the colonies destroyed. He remembered why they were here. "Continue firing," he ordered. "No mercy. They gave us none." In the palace, Hana fought her way through corridors. She wasn't trying to escape. That would be pointless. But if she was going to die today, she'd make it count. She was heading for the central data core. Every second she stayed alive was another second for humanity to learn Valkyrie secrets. Hana ran through corridors made of dark stone that seemed to absorb light. The palace was massive, built to make visitors feel small and afraid. But Hana had studied maps of this place for months. She knew where she was going. Behind her, she heard the heavy footsteps of Valkyrie royal guards. These weren't regular soldiers. They were elite warriors, trained since birth to protect the Emperor. Each one was worth 10 normal soldiers. She ducked into a side passage as plasma fire scorched the wall where her head had been. The stolen gun in her hand was running low on charge. Maybe 10 shots left. Not enough. Above the palace, the battle raged on. The human fleet moved in coordinated patterns like a school of fish attacking a shark. They were smaller, weaker individually, but they worked together in ways the Valkyrie couldn't match. Captain Yunji Bayek commanded the destroyer Vengeance. She was 31 years old and had lost her entire family when the Valkyrie bombed Seoul Station. Now she piloted her ship straight at a Valkyrie cruiser that was 5 times her size. "Captain, collision warning," her navigator shouted. "I see it," Yunji said calmly. "Arm the reactor overload. Set timer for 10 seconds. Her crew looked at her in horror. Captain, that will destroy us. Yes, Yunji said. It will also take them with us. Evacuate the ship. Get to the escape pods. We won't leave you, her first officer said. Yunji smiled. Yes, you will. That's an order. Tell Earth we made them pay. The crew fled to the escape pods. Yunji sat alone on the bridge, her hands steady on the controls. She aimed the Vengeance at the Valkyrie cruiser's weakest point. The ship's AI was helping her maintain course. It would stay with her until the end. Thank you, she told the AI. You're welcome, Captain, it replied. It has been an honor serving with you. The Vengeance struck the Valkyrie cruiser at full speed. The reactor overloaded. The explosion tore both ships apart. 4,000 Valkyrie died. Captain Yunji Beg died with a smile on her face. In the palace, Hana found what she was looking for. The central data core was behind a door marked with Valkyrie symbols. She didn't know what they said, but she knew this was the place. The door was locked. Of course it was. She checked her stolen gun. 5 shots left. She aimed at the control panel and fired. Sparks flew. The door remained closed. Footsteps echoed behind her. The royal guards were getting closer. Hana looked around desperately. Then she saw it, a maintenance access panel on the wall. She pulled it open and found power conduits, thick cables carrying energy throughout the building. She shot the cables. The gun died on the 3rd shot, but it was enough. The cables severed. Energy arced across the corridor. The lights went out, and without power, the locked door's magnetic seals released. The door slid open. Hana stepped into the data core. It was a room filled with crystalline structures that glowed with soft light. This was where the Valkyrie Empire stored its military secrets. Troop movements, weapon designs, political alliances, everything. She pulled out a small device from a hidden pocket. It was a data tab, built by human hackers who had studied Valkyrie systems for years. She plugged it into the nearest terminal. Come on, she whispered. Work, the device activated. Information began flowing. Downloading centuries of military data would take time. Time she didn't have. The royal guards burst into the room. 3 of them in black armor that covered them head to toe. They raised their weapons. Hana's gun was empty. She had no weapon. No way to fight. She raised her hands slowly. The lead guard stepped forward. You will come with us. The Emperor wants you alive. Then something unexpected happened. One of the guards shot the leader in the back. The leader fell. The other guard spun, confused. The rogue guard shot him too. Hana stared in shock as the 3rd guard removed his helmet. Beneath it was a Valkyrie face, but younger than most she'd seen. His skin was marked with scars. My name is Kelris, he said in broken English. I help you. Why? Hana asked. They kill my family. Say we were inefficient. Say we were weak. Kelris pointed at the data terminal. Take everything. Take all their secrets. Make them pay. Hana looked at the download. It was at 42%. It needs more time. I give you time, Kelris said. He handed her a working weapon. When it finishes, run. There is a maintenance shaft behind this wall. It leads outside. Above them, the space battle continued. The Valkyrie fleet was starting to organize. They outnumbered the humans badly. Ship by ship, the human fleet was being destroyed. On the Indomitable, Doyen watched the casualty reports with a heavy heart. The destroyer Righteous, gone. The frigate Morningstar, gone. The carrier Hope's Dawn, gone. 340 of his 500 ships were destroyed or disabled. They'd killed thousands of Valkyrie ships, but it wasn't enough. The Empire had reserves. They always had reserves. Sir, we're receiving distress calls from multiple ships, the communications officer said. Tell them to retreat, Doyen ordered. Fall back to jump point Beta. Sir, sensors show the palace shields are still up. If General Kim is inside, she knew the risks, Doyen said, though it hurt to say it. We can't lose the rest of the fleet. Prepare to jump. But before they could activate the FTL drive, something changed. On Throne Prime, Lieutenant Soman Yoon crouched in a crater that used to be a transportation hub. She commanded 20 Marines, all that was left of a company that had started with 200. They'd dropped from orbit in assault pods, a suicide mission to create chaos on the ground. Lieutenant, we're cut off, said Corporal Hyun Woo. The Valkyrie have us surrounded. Soman looked at her tactical display. They were 10 kilometers from the palace, too far to reach on foot. But her display showed something interesting. A Valkyrie transport abandoned when the battle started. Can you fly that? She asked Private Minho. Minho grinned. Only one way to find out. They stole the transport. Minho didn't actually know how to fly it, but he was good at figuring out alien technology. The transport lurched into the air, wobbling badly. Where are we going? Hyun-woo asked. The palace, Soman said. General Kim is in there. That's insane. We don't even know if she's alive. Then we'll find out, Somin said. In the data core, the download hit 90%. Hana watched the progress bar, her heart pounding. So close. Kelris stood guard at the door. He'd killed 3 more royal guards, but more were coming. The palace had thousands of soldiers. You should go, Hana told him. You helped enough. I stay, Kelris said. This is my fight too. 95%. Footsteps echoed outside. Lots of them. Maybe 20 guards. Kelris looked at Hana. When download finishes, you run fast. Yes, Newton, Hana said. 98%. The door exploded inward. Guards poured into the room. Kelris fired his weapon, dropping the first 3. Then he charged forward, using his body as a shield to buy Hana seconds. She saw him fall, saw the weapons tear him apart. He died without making a sound, 100%. The download was complete. Hana grabbed the data tap, yanked it free, and ran. She didn't look at Kelris's body. She couldn't. If she stopped to mourn everyone who died for this mission, she'd never move. She found the maintenance shaft. It was barely wide enough for her to fit. She crawled inside as plasma fire scorched the opening behind her. The shaft led down deep into the palace infrastructure. She crawled for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. Her wounded shoulder throbbed. Her hands were bleeding. She emerged in what looked like a loading bay. Valkyrie workers scattered at the sight of her. She raised her weapon, but they weren't soldiers, just civilians. She let them run, then she heard it. The sound of human engines. A stolen Valkyrie transport crashed through the bay doors. It landed hard, cracking the floor. The side door opened, and So-min Yoon leaned out. General Kim.
Get in! Hana ran!
She threw herself into the transport as plasma fire chased her. So-min grabbed her and pulled her inside. Go, So-min shouted. Go, go, go! Minho pushed the throttle forward. The transport lurched into the air. Valkyrie fighters scrambled to intercept, but the stolen transport's IFF system confused them for crucial seconds. Those seconds were enough. The transport climbed towards space. Behind them, Throne Prime burned. The palace was a crater. Military installations across the city were destroyed. Millions of Valkyrie were dead or dying. Fleet, this is Transport 7-3, So-min broadcast. We have the package. I repeat, we have General Kim. On the Indomitable, Doyen's eyes widened. Get them home. All ships cover that transport. Whatever it takes. The human fleet, battered and dying, formed a protective screen. Ships that could barely fly anymore put themselves between the transport and the Valkyrie fighters. They died to buy time. The transport docked with the Indomitable. Hana stumbled out, clutching the data tap. She looked at Doyeon, and he saw the weight in her eyes. I have it, she said. Everything. Their whole military database. Good, Doyeon said. Then louder. All ships jump to FTL, now. The surviving human ships opened wormholes and vanished. They left behind wreckage. They left behind thousands of dead. But they also left behind a wounded empire, bleeding from 1,000 cuts. As the Indomitable jumped away, Hana collapsed. Medics rushed to help her, but she was smiling. They'd done it. They'd hurt the Valkyrie Empire in a way no one thought possible. The war was just beginning. 3 weeks after the battle, Hana woke up in a hospital bed on Earth. White walls, clean sheets, the smell of antiseptic. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then the memories came flooding back. The execution chamber, the escape. The soldiers who died to save her. She tried to sit up and gasped. Pain shot through her shoulder where a Valkyrie weapon had burned through flesh and bone. The doctors had saved her arm, but she'd carry the scars forever. Easy, said a voice. Doyen Park sat in a chair beside her bed. He looked older than she remembered. Gray had spread through his hair and new lines marked his face. War aged everyone. How long was I out? Hana asked. 6 days. You lost a lot of blood. The doctor said you were lucky to be alive. Lucky, Hana repeated. The word felt strange. How many did we lose? Doyen's expression darkened. 43,340 ships. Most of the crews didn't make it. Hana closed her eyes. 43,000 people dead. Because of her plan. Because she'd convinced them to follow her into hell. It worked, though, Doyen said quietly. The data you captured. It's everything. Weapon designs, ship movements, political structures. We know more about the Valkyrie Empire than they know about themselves. Was it worth 43,000 lives? Hana asked. Doyen was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Ask me in a year. If we're still alive, maybe it was." The door opened. A young woman rushed in, her eyes red from crying. Jiwan Li threw herself at her mother's bed, hugging her carefully to avoid the injuries. "You're alive," Jiwan sobbed. "They said you might not wake up." "They said, I'm here," Hana said, stroking her daughter's hair. "I'm here." They held each other while Doyen quietly left the room. Some moments were private. Later that day, Hana received visitors from Earth's military command. Admiral Yuna Kang looked grim as she entered with a tablet full of reports. "The Valkyrie Empire is in chaos," Yuna said. 17 minor species have declared independence. The Empire's response has been confused and disorganized. Your attack humiliated them. They're not used to looking weak. "What about Earth?" Hana asked. "We're building more ships, training more soldiers. The data you captured helps, but we're still outmatched 1,000 to 1. If they come at us with everything they have, we can't win." "Then we don't let them organize," Hana said. "We keep hitting them. Make them spread their forces. Support the rebellions," Yuna nodded. "That's what I told the council. They want you to command the new Ghost Division. Special operations, hit-and-run attacks, sabotage." Hana looked out the window at Earth's sky. She'd thought she might die on Throne Prime. Part of her had wanted to. But now she was alive and the war continued. "I'll do it," she said. Across the galaxy, Emperor Thorin Vel stood in his rebuilt palace. The crater where Hana had destroyed the old throne room was now covered by a temporary structure. Everything reminded him of that day, of his humiliation. "My lord," said his military commander, a scarred veteran named General Vorik. "We've identified the Terran fleet's hiding places. We can strike them all simultaneously, destroy every human ship and then glass Earth from orbit. How many ships will it cost us?" Thorin asked. Vorik hesitated. "Our strategists estimate 30 to 40% casualties. The humans have learned our tactics. They've stolen our technology. They fight like cornered animals. 40% casualties. The Empire had never lost so many in a single campaign. If they failed, if the humans somehow survived, the Empire's member species might rebel on a massive scale." "We can't show weakness," another council member said. "The whole galaxy watched us bleed. We must respond with overwhelming force." But Thoran was thinking about Hana Kim's face, the way she'd smiled before the execution, the way she'd escaped and killed so many of his guards. Humans were dangerous in a way he hadn't understood before. "Prepare the fleet," he finally said. "But slowly, carefully. We'll strike when we're certain of victory." On a hidden station in deep space, human engineers worked day and night on new weapons. They'd learned so much from the captured data. Valkyrie shield technology, power systems, weapon designs. Technician Jaewon Nam stared at blueprints that showed a Valkyrie disruptor cannon. Humans had tried to build these weapons for years and failed. Now they understood why. The math was complex, but it was possible. "We can do this," he told his team. "We can build weapons that match theirs." "How long?" asked his supervisor. 6 months. Maybe a year. The war might be over by then. "Then we work faster," Jaewon said. In the Valkyrie industrial world of Forgan 7, something strange was happening. The automated factories that built warships were malfunctioning. Ship after ship came off the production lines with flawed reactors, misaligned weapons, faulty life support. The Valkyrie engineers couldn't find the problem. They checked every system, ran every diagnostic. Everything looked normal. They didn't know that human hackers had infiltrated their AI systems months ago, waiting for the right moment to activate a virus. Captain Taiyang Ko watched from his stealth ship as the Valkyries scrambled to fix their factories. He was 35, a computer genius who joined the military when the war started. "Virus is spreading nicely," he reported. "Estimates say 40% of their warship production will be offline for at least a year." "Good work." Hana's voice came over the communicator. She'd been released from the hospital and was already back to work. "What's next?" "I have a list of targets. Supply depots, communication hubs, places where we can hurt them without losing ships." "Send it to me," Hana said. "We'll hit them all." The Ghost Division became a nightmare for the Valkyrie Empire. Human teams struck without warning, destroyed their targets, and vanished before reinforcements arrived. They were like ghosts, impossible to track or predict. 1 month after the Battle of Throne Prime, a Valkyrie admiral named Corvin found his entire supply fleet destroyed. 20 cargo ships vaporized by long-range missiles that appeared from nowhere. His battle group was stranded without fuel or ammunition. 2 months after the battle, a Valkyrie research station went dark. When reinforcements arrived, they found everyone dead and all the data erased. Security footage showed human special forces moving through the station like shadows. 3 months after the battle, a delegate from the Nexian Commonwealth arrived at Earth. The Nexians were a powerful species, neutral in most conflicts. They'd watched the Valkyrie expand for centuries but were afraid to resist. Delegate Toran met with Admiral Yuna Kang in a secure bunker. "My government wants to discuss an alliance," he said. "Secretly, of course. The Empire must not know. What do you offer?" Yuna asked. "Ships, technology, bases where your forces can hide and repair. In exchange, when you strike the Empire, you support our independence. But if we strike?" Yuna said. Toran smiled. "We both know you will. The question is whether you'll have allies when you do." The alliance was formed. Then another. The Kalrathi Union, the Brevik Confederation, the Soren Collective, species that had suffered under Valkyrie rule for centuries, saw humanity's defiance and found courage. 6 months after the battle, Hana stood on the bridge of her command ship, the Shadow. It was a stealth vessel, designed for special operations. Around her, a fleet of 40 ships prepared for their next mission. "Target confirmed," said her tactical officer. "Valkyrie Military Academy on Dranthis 4. 300,000 cadets. Heavy defenses." Hana looked at the display. 300,000 young Valkyrie learning to be soldiers. If she destroyed the academy, she'd cripple their military for a generation. But they were students, young, not fully trained. "General?" her officer asked. "Orders?" Hana thought about her family, killed by Valkyrie weapons. She thought about Earth cities burned from orbit. She thought about the 43,000 humans who died at Throne Prime. "Arm the missiles," she said. "Full spread. Level the entire complex." Later, she'd wonder if that order made her a war criminal. But in the moment, she only felt cold determination. The Valkyrie had started this war. They'd chosen genocide. Now they'd learn what it felt like to lose. The missiles launched. The academy became a crater. 50,000 future Valkyrie officers died in the attack. The galaxy was horrified. Some called Hana Kim a monster. Others called her a hero. She didn't care what they called her. She only cared about winning. On Earth, Ji-Won Lee watched the news reports about the academy bombing. She saw people protesting, saying humanity was becoming like the Valkyrie. She saw others celebrating, calling it justice. Ji-Won knew her mother. She knew the weight Hana carried. Every death, every order, every sacrifice. It was crushing her from the inside. That night, Ji-Won made a decision. She went to the recruitment center and lied about her age. She was 16, but she told them she was 18. They needed soldiers so badly that they didn't check too carefully. 3 weeks later, Hana received a message that made her blood run cold. Her daughter had enlisted. Ji-Won was now in basic training, preparing to fight in the war. Hana tried to get her discharged. She used every bit of influence she had, but Ji-Won was legally an adult by her false records and she'd signed the papers. There was nothing Hana could do. They met once during Ji-Won's leave. The argument was bitter. "You don't understand what war is," Hana said. "I understand that you're dying inside," Ji-Won shot back. "I understand that you need someone to remember you're human. And I understand that if you can die for me, I can fight for us." 23 years. That's how long the war lasted. Hana Kim was 61 years old when she stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched the last Valkyrie battle fleet surrender. Her hair was gray now, and her face was marked with scars from a dozen battles. She'd survived longer than anyone expected. Around her, the command crew was quiet. They'd lost too many friends to celebrate. "They're requesting terms," the communications officer said. She was young, maybe 20. Hana couldn't remember her name. There had been so many young faces over the years, and so many of them had died. "Tell them to stand down all weapons," Hana said. "Power down their shields. Prepare to be boarded." "Yes, General." Admiral Doyen Park stood beside her. He was 65 now, and he walked with a cane after a battle injury had shattered his leg. "It's really over," he said quietly. "Almost," Hana replied. "We still need to make sure they can't rebuild." The war had changed the galaxy. The Valkyrie Empire was broken. Not destroyed, but reduced. 40 of their member species had gained independence. Their capital world was occupied by a coalition of forces, human and alien working together. Emperor Thoran Vel had died 3 years ago, killed when human commandos destroyed his bunker. The new emperor was young, barely 50 years old, and terrified of humanity. On Earth, Jiwan Li worked in the communications center that coordinated the occupation forces. She was 39 now, with her own family. Her son, 8 years old, had never known war. That was what mattered. She watched the screens showing the surrender. Her mother's face appeared on one display, older and harder than Jiwan remembered, but still alive. "Still fighting, is that Grandma?" her son asked. "Yes," Jiwan said. "That's your grandmother. Is she a hero?" Jiwan thought about that question. She did what she had to do. Whether that makes her a hero depends on who you ask. The peace negotiations took 6 months. Humans didn't trust the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie were terrified of humans. Other species watched carefully, worried about who would dominate the new galactic order. In the end, they created something new. The Free Alliance, a coalition of species dedicated to preventing any one empire from ruling the galaxy again. Humans were one member among many, but their military strength gave them influence. The Valkyrie were forced to give up most of their territory. Their military was limited. They'd be watched for generations to make sure they never again tried to conquer others. Some Valkyrie adapted to the new reality. Others plotted revenge. But they were weak now, and the galaxy had learned to stand together. Hana was offered retirement, a pension, a house on Earth or any colony she wanted. She was famous, after all, the general who survived execution and broke the empire. Children learned her name in schools, but she refused. "I'm not done," she told Admiral Yuna Kang. Yuna was 73 now, ready to retire herself. There are still Valkyrie military cells operating in secret. There are war criminals who need to be found. The work isn't finished. "Hana," Yuna said gently, "you've been fighting for 23 years. You've earned rest." "I'll rest when I'm dead," Hana said, so she continued. She led teams hunting down war criminals. She investigated secret Valkyrie weapons programs. She made sure the peace was real and not just a pause before the next war. 5 years after the official end of the war, Hana stood in a courtroom on Throne Prime. She was testifying at the trial of General Vorik, the Valkyrie commander who'd ordered the destruction of Mars colony. 60 million humans had died in that attack. Vorik sat in chains, his black eyes staring at her with hatred. He was old now, ancient by Valkyrie standards, but Hana remembered him as he'd been, young and proud, laughing as he gave the order to fire. "Do you have anything to say?" the judge asked Hana. She looked at Vorik. "I spent 23 years hunting people like him. I killed thousands. I ordered strikes that destroyed cities. I did terrible things in the name of victory." She paused. "But I never ordered genocide. I never laughed while civilians died. That's the difference between us." Vorik was found guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison. Hana felt no satisfaction. Justice didn't bring back the dead. 10 years after the war ended, Hana finally accepted retirement. She was 71 years old and her body was failing. The injuries from decades of combat had caught up with her. She moved to a small house on a colony world called New Busan. It was named after her birthplace, destroyed in the war's first year. The planet was peaceful, with forests and mountains and clean air. Jiwan visited often with her children. Hana's grandson was 18 now, studying engineering. Her granddaughter was 15, interested in history. They asked her questions about the war, and she answered honestly. She didn't hide the terrible things she'd done. She believed they deserved the truth. "Do you regret it?" her granddaughter asked once. "All the fighting?" Hana looked out at the peaceful valley beyond her window. "Every single day," she said. "But I'd do it again. Because you're here. Because humans survived. Because we're not slaves or extinct." One day, Doyen Park came to visit. He was 80 now, retired to a quiet life with his wife. They sat on Hana's porch drinking tea and watching the sunset. "Do you remember that day?" Doyen asked. "In the execution chamber?" "Every detail," Hana said. "I remember thinking I was going to die. I remember being afraid. You didn't look afraid. I'm a good actor." They were quiet for a while. Then Doyen said, 43,000 people died in that battle. Was it worth it? It was the same question he'd asked 28 years ago. Hana thought about everything that had happened since. The long war. The millions dead on both sides. The empire broken. The new alliance of free species, yes, she said finally. It was worth it. 15 years after the war ended, humanity had become one of the strongest powers in the galaxy. Not through conquest, but through alliances and technology. The weapons humans had developed during the war, born from desperation and stolen knowledge, were now among the most advanced in known space. Young humans joined the Alliance fleet, serving alongside Nexians and Calrathi and dozens of other species. The old hatreds were fading, replaced by cautious friendship. The Valkyrie had changed too. The generation that remembered the Empire's glory was dying off. Young Valkyrie grew up in a different galaxy, one where they had to work with other species instead of ruling them. Some adapted well, others never accepted it. On the anniversary of the Battle of Throne Prime, memorials were held across human space. People remembered the 43,000 who died. They remembered the years of war. They remembered the price of survival. Hana attended the ceremony on Earth. She was 76 now, frail and using a walker. But she stood straight as the names were read. Every single one. It took hours. She didn't leave until the last name was spoken. Afterward, reporters tried to interview her. They called her a hero. They said she saved humanity. I'm not a hero, Hana told them. I'm a soldier who did what was necessary. The real heroes are the 43,000 who didn't come home. Remember their names, not mine. 2 years later, Hana Kim died quietly in her sleep. She was 78 years old. The news spread across the galaxy. Human worlds declared a day of mourning. Even some Valkyrie acknowledged her passing with respect. Her funeral was attended by thousands. Admirals and privates, politicians and civilians. Species from across the galaxy came to honor the woman who changed. History, Ji-Wan Lee stood at her mother's grave and read a letter Hana had written before she died. I am not proud of everything I did. The letter said, I killed people who deserved better. I made choices that haunt me. But I am proud that I fought for something bigger than myself. I am proud that my daughter grew up free. I am proud that humanity survived. The letter continued. To those who come after me, I say this. Never forget the cost of peace. Never forget that someone had to fight so you could live without fear, and never ever let anyone make you kneel. 50 years after the war ended, the galaxy was at peace. Not perfect peace, never that, but something stable. Humans were respected, even feared a little. No one tried to conquer them again. In schools across human space, children learned about the war. They studied the Battle of Throne Prime. They learned General Hana Kim's name alongside other famous leaders. Some historians called her a war criminal for the attacks on Valkyrie civilians. Others called her a hero who saved humanity from extinction. The debate continued for generations, but everyone agreed on one thing. She had changed the galaxy forever. The execution that was supposed to take 7 minutes had lasted 23 years. And by its end, humanity had earned something more valuable than victory. They had earned respect. They had proven they were not prey, not primitives, not weak. They had proven they were survivors. In a museum on Earth, Hana's uniform hung in a display case. The fabric was torn and burned, marked by years of combat. Beside it was the data tap she'd used to steal Valkyrie military secrets. And on the wall was a quote from her testimony at General Vorik's trial. We did not start this war. We did not want this war, but we finished it. And we will never apologize for surviving. Visitors came from across the galaxy to see the exhibit. Humans came to remember. Aliens came to understand. And every one of them left knowing that some species, when pushed to the edge of extinction, would not go quietly into the dark. They would fight. They would adapt. They would do whatever it took to survive.